Barnes & Noble has established itself as one of the premier book retailers in the world. However, the introduction of e-readers presents a challenge to their established business that focuses on print materials. By combining their focus on consumer wants with a thought leadership strategy that focuses on integrating e-reader technology, Barnes & Noble has the potential to achieve even greater sales. Barnes & Noble has established themselves as one of the premier book retailers in the world. Their focus on print materials and meeting consumer needs has allowed them to remain successful. However, the introduction of e-readers has started to change how consumers purchase books and interact with reading materials. Barnes & Noble's long history of innovation and keeping up with the changing needs of consumers will be an important part of their ability to take advantage of the changing landscape of book reading. In order to evolve with technology, Barnes & Noble will need to reconsider how they support consumers. By reaching out to schools and businesses to show how this technology can support organizational objectives, Barnes & Noble will be able to draw in the new business while staying focused on what has made them successful: people. Barnes & Noble has a long history in the book industry. In the early years, they were known not only for book sales, but also for having a hand in publishing. However, where Barnes & Noble made their first mark was in the college textbook arena, with the opening of the Student Book Exchange in 1965. After several successful years operating the first textbook shop, Leonard Riggio, who would soon become the company's chairman, expanded the exchange to include 6 other locations. During the same time period, the brand expanded and opened the flagship retail location in New York. The brand continued to grow through catalog sales and was the first to offer discounts to customers through percentages off the suggested retail price. During the 1990s, the focus on development of their online sales continued, while focusing on the changing needs of consumers. In an effort to keep up with changing consumer needs, Barnes & Noble integrated new product lines that included DVDs, movies, music. To encourage customers to stay in the store and promote socializing, they also added coffee shops to many of their locations. The first incarnation of e-readers in the early 1990s was lackluster. Due to limited platforms and an even smaller library of available books, consumers were slow to adapt to the new technology. However, the 2007 launch of the Amazon Kindle changed the book and print media market entirely. Now consumers had multiple devices that could fluidly support multiple digital options. For the first several years they were in wide circulation, e-readers were primarily used for leisure and enjoyment purposes. Users sought recreational reading materials that were available from digital libraries and online retailers. As the use of e-readers has grown and the technology has advanced, there has been an increasing interest in the ability to access educational, training, and work-related materials. This interest in using e-readers for educational development opportunities presents the opportunity for expanded sales and to bring on new customers. As Barnes & Noble looks to take advantage of e-reader technology, their current organizational strengths will play a significant role in how they proceed. By utilizing brand recognition they have established and the continual focus on meeting consumer needs, they will be able to venture into new market areas that would otherwise be difficult to enter. Over the years, Barnes & Noble has spent a considerable amount of time and effort building their company brand and infrastructure. From the flagship store in New York, they have become a presence in every major city across the U.S. At the same time, they have kept up with changing technologies and bolster a robust online site for consumers to use. By prioritizing the interfaces customers use, along with the addition of new titles and product lines, Barnes & Noble has been able to match customer expectations. To address the shifting technology focuses, Barnes & Noble has also made a strategic leadership adjustment that reflects the need for development. Having a core leadership team that understands these principles is a major factor in long-term success. Perhaps their biggest focus is understanding and relating to their customers. Barnes & Noble has made soliciting customer feedback and acting in accordance a major part of their business plan. This feedback can be seen throughout the business. They have grown from a single product line to a wide variety of offerings. Customers can find everything from books, music, games, puzzles, software, and so on. The developing product line shows their focus on being one-stop shop for customers. At the same time, Barnes & Noble has also incorporated coffee shops into many of their locations. These coffee shops serve as a place for customers to come and socialize, to conduct business meetings, and to have social interactions. These shops then provide an opportunity to stay longer and increase sales from a business perspective. One option for continued growth is to offer expanded services and libraries that focus on e-reader technologies. By working with schools and businesses, Barnes & Noble can develop strategic training programs and libraries that support the partnering organization's goals and objectives. These programs would not only increase sales, but fits directly into Barnes & Noble's strengths of building customer connections and relationships. Schools and businesses are being challenged to adapt to new technologies and incorporate them into daily use. The addition of these technologies can be challenging from a user standpoint. Often there's fear and concern over how to use the new devices and adapt accordingly. Barnes & Noble is in a position to offer solutions based on the current programs and skill sets they already have. The Barnes & Noble's college program has allowed them to support learning in school settings. Faculty and staff have access to devices and staff that can answer questions at any time. This integration reflects back upon Barnes & Noble's early years in college textbook sales. However, the program offers a continued focus on building relationships and helping to solve problems. By partnering with schools and businesses, not only can Barnes & Noble continue to offer the services they are known for, but they can take their desire for development to a new level. Offering basic support services, which focuses on introducing users to the technology, is a great starting point and can serve as a foundation for further development. However, by building partnerships that focus on employee and student development and achievement of outlined objectives, Barnes & Noble can create a new stream of business. While partnering with schools and businesses will have different end goals, the desire to support individual growth and achievement will be consistent. To ensure these programs are successfully executed, it will be necessary to understand the desired organizational outcomes. As Barnes & Noble continues their work with colleges, it will be important they continue to focus on providing the educational support they are known for. Understanding the course and school learning objectives will play a large role in how they are able to direct services. As they look to move to next steps, it will be important to understand the job market and how student development will impact post-college options. By building online libraries and development networks that support early career guidance, students will be more likely to successfully enter the workforce. From a business perspective, Barnes & Noble has the ability to develop online libraries and workshops that directly support organizational goals. By developing the areas of main focus that leaders are looking for support in, Barnes & Noble can create organization-specific libraries that contain relevant training materials. For business, not only does this develop a more talented workforce, but it alleviates the pressures associated with putting together learning materials. Between learning new skills and the focus on organizational objectives and the integration of new skill sets, businesses have the potential to see huge growth in their employees. As Barnes & Noble develops libraries and curriculums that support individual and organizational development, it will be important to have clearly defined expectations. Because they will serve as a consultant or service provider, they will need to fully align on learning outcomes with the organization's specific goals. The first set of goals that will need to be established are those of the organization. Depending on whether it's a school or business, the goals may be very broad or narrowly defined. In each case, it will be important to develop curriculum that can be tied directly to the desired outcomes. The next step will be to determine the personal goals of each participant. While many will be enrolled through organizational requirements, they will likely have their own areas of interest they would like to have developed. Once both have been identified, it will be important to determine the areas of overlap to ensure these are well supported. Another important step will be to have each person list their drivers. Whether there is monetary reward, recognition, or career advancement, each will impact the level to which the participant engages with the materials. Class structure will also be an important part of developing any program. For schools and businesses, providing online access to materials will be one of the most convenient options. This allows participants to move through materials as they work at their own pace. However, there will also be a need for classes or workshop settings to ensure the materials are being internalized and understood. Offering social settings for participants also encourages working while demonstrating learning outcomes. Developing learning libraries and curriculums presents many opportunities for growth. However, this type of undertaking will have several advantages and disadvantages that will need to be monitored to determine success. Barnes & Noble has the potential to see unmatched growth through the establishment of development libraries and classes. Because of the unique nature of libraries and classes, Barnes & Noble will be set apart from their competition. This differentiation would add to their already strong brand recognition. At the same time, these types of programs fit into their business plan that is already in place. Customer focus and individual development remain at the core of who they are, but it pushes the model from what it looks like today. The development of libraries and classes would also help further drive technological innovations and integrations into learning environments. While the advantages are significant, this type of programming can be time-consuming. Each organization would require highly specialized and individualized support that would take continual monitoring and upkeep. At the same time, maintaining relationship with each organization and developing them can be strenuous. Relationship management would need to be a continual focal point for all staff members. Another challenge that will need to be addressed is the continual development updates and new materials that are available. These updates will work best with curriculums that are expected to grow and change over time. Throughout the process of developing learning libraries and class/workshop options, Barnes & Noble will need to ensure they are pursuing programming that adds value to the business. While many of the aspects related to this type of programming fall in line with their current strengths, they will be required to review their organizational weaknesses and opportunities and determine how to address them. At the same time, it will be highly advantageous to monitor the actions of their competitors as well as for new technologies to avoid any undue surprises. With the development and integration of any program, it is important to understand the outside threats that can hinder success. One of the first threats Barnes & Noble will need to be aware of is the other firms and organizations that provide educational and development support. These firms may prove to be direct competitors for Barnes & Noble. However, due to brand notoriety and their current involvement with schools, they are already positioned for success. Technology will also need to remain a focal point, otherwise legs in integration may lead to weaknesses that competitors will be able to exploit. One area that will be outside of their control but will require immediate action is changes in organizational focus. Since the libraries and classes are built to support current goals, any changes will require materials be reviewed and updated to support organizational redirection. Economic pressures are also an influencer in this type of programming. As the economy ebbs and flows, this type of development opportunity may be seen as a luxury that cannot be afforded. In times of economic turmoil, Barnes & Noble may see considerable reduction in the organizations using their programs. By implementing strategic thought leadership principles, Barnes & Noble has the opportunity for significant growth in the coming years. Their core business strengths in brand recognition and consumer focus, and integrating them into new programs and offerings is an excellent starting point. Partnerships with schools and businesses allow their strengths to remain the focal point while integrating e-reader technology. The The resulting benefits will not only be realized by Barnes & Noble, but also by the schools and businesses that they form strategic partnerships with.